مو بيدي قلبي سامح وينسى الماضي ويصالح روح.
أهلا وسهلا.
هلا فيكي.
Most welcome, Nasser.
Thank you so much.
It has been 1 month since the Syrian liberation. We met, there was Al Assad regime, and now we're meeting. There's no Al Assad regime.
Nope, it's gone.
Congratulations.
Shukran. Thank you so much.
When Al Assad regime fell apart, what was the first thing you felt?
Shock, disbelief. It happened that I was visiting my cousin in Chicago. So it made it feel even more surreal. And we all reacted kind of differently, you know, some were like singing and screaming. And I was just sitting and like not moving for, you know, they looked at me and Shabak yani. It's something, I was born into it, and I really never thought, I always hoped, right? We always hoped he would go. We always hoped the system would fall. But يعني, it was so hard to believe it لأنه يعني وعينا عليه, you know. And
شو يعني وعينا عليه؟
يعني ما بعرف شو كنت غيره بسوريا. يعني I didn't know what a country, our country would look like without an Assad. Every day, right, we used to say قائدنا إلى الأبد. الأمين حافظ الأسد, that was the father, that was the chorus. No, it was ingrained, right? It's like forever, forever, forever. It was in my body that like this is how we're gonna be. It infiltrated the country in a way that like if they collapsed, the whole country would collapse. That was the plan, right? Like they were invested in everything. They were in every corner. The army wasn't really Syria's army, right? It was Assad's army.
When they say Syria, they always say Syria al-Assad. So as if Syria doesn't exist on its own.
شو سوريا الأسد يعني في سوريا وفي الأسد يعني.
Sorry, where do you come from?
من
سوريا الأسد.
من سوريا الأسد, yeah, exactly. فكرت عم تقولي لي عن جد يقول لك بابا من الشام ماما من القامشلي. Literally everyone I was talking to from Syria, we're all in this space where we couldn't formulate sentences. We couldn't, we didn't know how to even express what we're feeling. You know, we're so happy. The type of joy that came with that, like I didn't even know existed. Like, you know, I never lived something like that. Honestly, it felt like my brain was exploding. And it felt like so much was going on because suddenly all the memories start coming back. Suddenly you know, like I had one way to cope was for me to accept that I might not be able to go to Syria maybe until I'm like in my 60s or something to visit. But like I had to accept that country might be only in the past for you physically. So like all this left is memories, right? So suddenly, you know, it was like, oh wait, like it's back. I might actually be able to visit. I was speaking to my mom said like حاسة رجع لي بلد. We do have a country, you know, it was stolen from us, but it was in a way returned. Yeah, so it was just a lot to grasp. I mean, it also wasn't easy, I think, for all of us. Yani, even though we're so happy, right? It was so much to take in. And again, like everything happened in like, I think 12 days total, or
Even less.
like the human mind, I don't think can, you know what I'm saying? Like can't understand such a huge change that took literally 54 years to just...
What did it bring up for you?
One major thing was mourning. You know, you think of all the people who would have been so happy to learn about that, the people you loved, and then people that disappeared, people that died in prisons.
Are there specific people?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I have people that I knew would be happy close to me. You know, as my brother, my grandmother. My grandmother died in Jordan, and like every day she was الله ياخدك يا أسد وكيف طلعتنا من بيوتنا, you know. And then yeah, we have a couple of friends that one like just يعني بياخدوك على السجن ما بتقعدي بتسألي ما بتقعدي تعرفي شيء عنه يعني, like his family tried to ask, and last time they asked they told them like إنه إذا لسه بترجعوا بتسألوا بنحطكم معه, you know. So like we literally didn't know anything about him. And then another,
They can't even ask.
You can't ask.
Where is our
No.
son?
Yeah, there's so many strategies used to kind of increase the pain of the people. One was you couldn't ask. One was, you know, lots of lies. One was giving fake death certificates. And one was keep telling people their son or daughter is alive so that you keep bribing them to learn more about them. The suffering of those families never had any sort of closure. Many people described it as worse than death. It's like you're literally in the dark. And where you know that whatever is happening is bad. Obviously, if they're dead, that's awful, right? But if they're alive, you know they're being tortured, right? I can't even imagine, honestly, being like an immediate family member or, of someone who suffered that.
Even though the Syrian regime or Al Assad regime was in our country, in Lebanon, and I witnessed also as a child how they were brutal and oppressive, and they had checkpoints, and every 7 meters there was a checkpoint, and they would humiliate, physically abuse them and take them and do a lot. But then after I grew up and became, in my 30s, I went to Syria for the first time. When we arrived to a restaurant, we saw Bashar al-Assad.
Wait, seriously?
Having dinner. On my first...
Was that in Bab Shar'i? There was one restaurant he used to...
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. He was with so many people on a circular table. And then I kind of forgot that it's that oppressive. So I yelled. I was like, oh my God, look, this is Bashar al-Assad. And my friend, whom I know is against Assad, started yelling at me. He's like, no, don't say this. Don't say this. I'm like, but here he is. And he was like, don't say this. Say, my sir president, Sayyid al-Rais. And I was like...
Oh, you said just Bashar.
Yeah, Bashar. I'm Lebanese and I was
Yeah.
And he yelled many times and I wasn't understanding what's happening. And then he's like, they're gonna take us. Yeah. So now thinking about it, man, this one visit, they take people just for saying something like this.
Oh, yeah.
بالصدفة ممكن تروح.
Yeah. I mean, we saw Lebanese individuals coming out of prisons from the 80s, right?
From the 80s,
There was no distinction.
If we want to go back to the first time you knew, you talked about the feeling, but what was the thought?
I envisioned all the images of both Assad's father and Assad's son disappearing. So statues falling, and the Rasul Hamidiyya, there used to be a big photo of Bashar, and it said Surya Allah Hamiya. This kind of amazing quote that that he said that people hang on to. The first image was just that picture torn. That was that they no longer will be omnipresent in Damascus. Yeah. Yeah.
So that was very image-wise and visual.
Yeah.
Because they are that visual.
The art of sculpture was very limited in Syria because most of it were, statues of Hafez Al Assad. So, wherever you go, if you see a statue, it's most likely of Hafez.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was everywhere.
So as an artist, you're kind of limited to the face of Hafez Al Assad.
All sorts of art never died in Syria or never managed to be fully suffocated.
Do you know that I performed a performance in Syria? In Damascus Theatre Festival, but now maybe looking back at it, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have had, because it's a dictatorship regime.
Yeah, it's complicated.
So there's this dance around how do we honor Syrian people and how much are we kind of, complicit?
There's two kind of perspectives for this type of kind of art performances or visits, or for us living there, right? And we always looked at Lebanon, right? Because you guys had the international festivals, everyone would come to, and no one would come to Syria. When something like that would happen, for us it was a big joy. I remember recently I was speaking to a Palestinian friend and it came up the idea of visiting, and I told her I would be extremely uncomfortable visiting Palestine when it's under occupation, it's not my place to go do tourism or whatever. And what she was saying was yeah, of course that's true, but also I want to tell you that when Palestinians see people come from Syrians and come visit, or she said it's so meaningful also, to feel they're not isolated from that world, right? That they can interact with. So yeah, it is very tricky, right? I mean, and I think in some cases obviously it would be very obvious that you should boycott.
And now, Nasser, when I say Syria, not Syria al-Assad, what visual associations audio associations, what feelings come up for you?
They're all summarized in letting myself feel everything. So like now I'm at a moment where I can feel happy, feel frustrated, feel anxious.
How was it before?
Before, yeah, it was, yani, I had to kind of decide how to feel about Syria to protect myself. Sometimes I have to do something, right? Like I'm focused on work or whatever, and then like an image comes to my mind and it completely paralyzes me because I know I can never live that again. So now it's like the possibility that I might be able to live that just makes everything kind of feels much more natural. Like I don't feel like I have to block things. So yeah, these days, like when someone says Syria, the feeling is like homesickness, but in a good way. Like homesickness that is also telling me you will go home soon. Yeah.
And knowing that you can go home.
Over the past months, I started allowing myself to relive the moments that made me happy back there. So for example, when in Ramadan, I would go to Old Damascus during iftar because there would be no one. And so this city would be empty because it's usually so buzzing, right? And then as you pass by the houses, like you hear all the like click, 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 right? And you're smelling everything. And then you hear the adhan from Masjid al-Amwi. But one peculiar thing about al-adhan bil Masjid al-Amwi is that it's a chorus with possible actually origins in Christian chants. You hear something very special, like basically a chorus doing adhan.
How does the Syrian regime or any dictatorship, in your experience, resemble colonization?
There is always this sense of loss, even living there, right? Like, you're hiding things, you're lying about things, you are pretending to like the government, right? You can't speak your mind. So that was like the painful part of it. I grew up surrounded, right, by Palestinian refugees. They were treated as second-class citizens. You see how they can't travel in Syria, right? It's supposed to be like the country that's standing up for Palestinians and defending Palestinians, where at home it was not treating them the way they should be treated. And then, it was exacerbated during the revolution. So, thousands of Palestinians were killed in Mukhayyam Yarmouk, right, where all the big majority of the Palestinians lived.
Killed by
Assad, by the bombing, because they knew what a terrible regime it was, and they knew that they didn't want it to be there. They knew how poorly it was treating them.
What about the similarities of living in a place that is like oppression of Al-Assad? Did it feel like colonization?
Yeah, because in a way, they had invaded Syria, right? Like, even though it wasn't a foreign power, it was a side of the government, right, that took over the country and that decided that they were going to be the rulers, and that they decided how to treat people and what type of laws to establish. The Syrian government under Assad colonized Lebanon, for example, right, for 30 years. That was colonization. They did literally take over, right? They were the de facto rulers, right?
And when it happens in your own country, it's called dictatorship, but it's kind of like a kind of colonization. There's this man who was official in the Nazi crew, the Holocaust and the ethnically cleansing of the Jews.
Right.
And he became, and then he fled Germany, and in the 70s, he was the consultant of Hafez Al Assad.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me, but I didn't know that.
Yeah. Very much telling around how, like, the white supremacy ideas were implemented also in Syria.
Yeah, because you just changed the terms, right? So for them, there was the superiority of the Ba'ath regime, right? Rather than the Nazi regime. This superior class that have the right to oppress other classes of people, right? Have the right to torture them, have the right to kill them. Anything that doesn't fit the nation they're trying to design is to be exterminated, right? We are at the mercy, right, of this government that doesn't have any clear definition of what could actually protect us. Like, we always heard this term aman, right? Like safety and emin. But that was their own definition of safety. Safety meant nothing will happen to you, except anything could happen to you at any moment if someone decides to write a report, even if you actually didn't even do anything, right?
So when you say write a report, so that people understand,
Yeah.
write a report means to be an informant. It's neighbors, it's artists who can write reports and be informants. So you are silenced even in spaces where it's like you would think it's safe.
Absolutely. It's the idea of planting that fear, because you can never trust who might be an informant. And it gets to the point where, even at home, I remember like you'd lower your voice when you're talking politics, right? There was this expression, Hitan El Adan, no? The walls have ears. Right?
Yeah.
So
sorry, but we used to say this when the Syrian regime was colonizing Lebanon. We also used to lower our voices and we say the walls have ears. There's something very interesting that kind of like, as if it gets planted in humans when we know that there's surveillance everywhere.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's almost comparable to like North Korea, right? Like the only thing that was missing was actual speakers in the houses like they do there, right? But the feeling was that there was there was someone listening in the house, right? I think that was one of the kind of most effective ways the Assad dictator kind of maintained power and like also made sure people would never even try to kind of rebel or until things kind of got to a point where it exploded.
What were the tools for Al Assad? So there's informants everywhere.
Schools. The indoctrination was just next level. There's this movie called Tawfan fi Bilad al-Ba'as by Omar Amir Alai that is very powerful because there's little commentary, but it's just showing kind of the type of life. I went to a public school and they literally look like prisons from the outside. Like they do, because there's even spikes so that the children wouldn't run out. I felt like I was going to prison every day.
Wow.
And then at school, right, we were dressed like soldiers, right? Until I was 8th grade, they changed
Really?
it. But like, yeah, we used to Badla al-Askariya, it was called our
wow.
our uniform. And then every morning it's like you're in the military, they would say, I don't know the terms in English, rest, or, it's like starih, sta'id, right? And then you repeat, Ummatun Arabiya Wahida, Risala Khalida, until Hafez died. It used to be also like a teacher would say, Qaidna ila al-abad, right? Our leader forever is, and I mean Hafez Al Assad, right? We say Hafez Al Assad, the faithful.
And you have to say you can't. It sounds like the Nazi, like where everyone raised their hands and you have to.
I mean, we also raised our hands.
Really?
Yeah.
What did it symbolize, raising the hand? How did you raise it? Like this?
Well, no,
This?
basically the same as.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I know, it's ridiculous.
Well, this is affirming that the consultant of Hafez Al Assad was.
Maybe that's how it started, yeah.
And does it like relate to Nazism or?
There was never like any explicit kind of connection made to us, but yeah, you see the overlaps. Then in school itself, Syria claimed to be like a secular government, but like we had mandatory religion twice a week. And in those classes, they would actually, I think, like fuel sectarianism, because I remember a teacher would come and take the Christian students out, and they would have their own kind of class where they learn about Christianity and we learn about Islam. And it's forbidden to kind of talk about that. There was two big taboos in Syria, was politics and religion. There was clear benefit for the regime to kind of keep this separation and keep people kind of in a way demonizing almost each other, right? Or not learning about each other. And then most infamously, there was a subject called Tarbiyya al-Qawmiyya al-Ishtirakiyya, so socialist nationalist education, which was every year, and it was all about the accomplishments of Hafez Al Assad, the accomplishments of the Ba'ath Party. That was actually the only subject I failed in college, because by that point I was old enough to understand what we're learning, and I would just be fuming every time I'm trying to like memorize something. I just,
Yeah, oh my God.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, like schools was a very important instrument.
I'm glad they didn't take you to prison because you failed it.
Exactly.
Really? Isn't it scary?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like that, I think people failed it frequently, so it didn't happen.
And there's the prisons,
Of course.
which is the biggest cause
Of fear.
of fear and all the torture that they do to prisoners. And prisoners, a lot of them don't know what are they accused of.
And that's what we also found out recently is there was literally prisons everywhere, under university campuses, under hospitals, right? So it was so pervasive. We were walking on top of these dungeons. The level of evil really is just unthinkable. I think that's why like I get very angry really when people suggest that we might be walking into something worse or they would have rather kept that. It's like nothing, if you try really hard, you can't be as bad as that. It would take decades for you to reach something as evil.
The news that are coming out after Al-Assad regime fell, it's just horrifying to see that there are children of the prisoners that, I can't say prisoners, like hostages, you're right, that they used to take, and then they would put the children of these detainees in orphanages. And these orphanages are also sponsored by Asma Al Assad. So this is how the system works. And it just reminds me of how colonization here took, like, separated and kidnapped the children of indigenous people. And anyone who speaks up about it, they put them in prison and they just change their names. And it's just shocking to see this, yani, it is a kind of colonization.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're using the same tools. In this subject I was telling you about, the National Socialist Education, they would retell the history of Syria from a point of view that would highlight the superiority of Syrians over other people. Like, I remember there was a line where it said, like, Syrians discovered fire. Which, like, you know, it's like, that's what I'm saying. It's so great. But then also, like, the whole focus was the Umayyads, for example. The Umayyad Caliphate was in Damascus. So there was like so much 20th century, it's all summarized in how everything was going wrong until the Ba'ath Party took over, the correctional movement, right? So
it's good that they didn't say it was a waste of land.
Yeah. Seriously. There's the same tools as colonizers, right? They say that, like, yeah, there was something wrong in these civilizations or this place, the savages or whatever, or like, and we come to kind of save them.
What did they save you from? What are they claiming?
Just like failed political systems at the time. There's a lot of things going on, you know, in Syria after 1946, the independence from France. Lots of issues, lots of experimentation, lots of coups, right? And so basically when the Ba'ath took over, obviously the idea was to like silence different parties and centralize it in this one power. To justify themselves, they would have to retell the history as, you know, something bad was going on, right? All of this, you know, chaos, right? And then we came and we brought kind of what this country needed.
I remember when Hafez Al Assad died, I don't know, when did he die?
June 10.
You remember that?
Yeah, so June 10, 2000.
The year 2000.
Yeah.
I was like 22 years old.
Yeah.
And I remember people were like collapsing down the street and crying, and we were confused. And I would ask my dad, like, why are they, isn't he a dictator? There were a lot, like millions of people down the street.
There was, and it's like these kind of type of personalities, right? They do attract people. Like, there are people who genuinely admire them. There are people who genuinely love them. There are people who didn't know better. There's lots of people who like literally couldn't believe that he would die, because every day you're saying he's going to be there forever, right? So it was a shock. And then there's performance, of course. Like, there are people who, you know, wanted to, you know, show that they loved him so much, right? And
have some benefits and privileges.
Yeah, exactly, right? But there were genuinely people who loved him. Like, it's, you know, these people exist, right? There are different reasons why that happens. Yeah.
I remember you told me one time how you viewed Al-Assad, and then how you started to know that, like, oh, maybe he's not good.
When Hafiz died, I was 10. So up until then, I could sense, of course, that was a taboo, that I can't mention anything in school related to that. When he died, that was kind of the first shock for me, because I realized he's not going to be there forever. And because I asked, I could tell, like, my parents were happy, right? And so I asked, like, we should be sad, right, that Assad died? And their answer was, yeah, we should be. But you could tell they looked happy and they looked relieved. So for me, that was a moment when I started, like, explicitly realizing that, you know, this is not a good person. This is not a good family ruling us, right? And But again, like up until that point, nothing was said to me explicitly. It was all like kind of perceiving as a child, right? Because as you're saying, my parents, my family would were worried that if you say something in front of a child and they go and say it in school. We heard the story that was about Saddam, like that like a child was given like the picture of Saddam in elementary school, and he said, "Oh, that's the man that my dad spits on every time he's on TV," and then the parent, right? So
I heard that story
right,
too,
so
and then his dad was taken.
yeah. So these were the stories that people had in mind, at least, right? Like these were the consequences people were worried about. So it wasn't until I was much older that my family would like speak much more explicitly about the fact that they hated him, and they were legitimately scared to share that with us throughout school, really.
Anjad, I can't imagine, not being able to tell one's child what I think is good, what I think is bad. But it creates a wall. They're not saying it, and it's arriving just very implicitly. And there's dissonance here.
Absolutely, yeah. And
they created dissonance in like from one generation to another.
There's such a huge contrast between school and home. Like for religion, like the classes we were taking, I would learn that we're all going to hell because like my mom doesn't wear the veil or whatever. And I go home and, it's like everyone's happy and like, like we have parties, right? And like we go to the pool on Fridays. Whereas at school, it was the opposite. Everything was dictated, right? Anything you do wrong, they will hit you, right? We used to have lots of physical abuse.
Oh, at school?
Schools. Oh, yeah. It was like a daily thing.
Military clothes and hitting you, yeah. It really sounds like prison.
It was, yeah. It was, yeah.
So also you are Kurdish. You're Kurdish Syrian. So what does that mean for you?
Ethnically, on both sides, I'm Kurdish. My dad's side is from Sham, so from Damascus. My mom's side is from Qamishli and Jazeera. We never learned the language.
The Kurdish language?
Yeah, they were very much like Arabicized. Anyway, we were very much kind of engulfed in this Arab culture, right?
Your families?
My family, and lots of Kurds, especially in Damascus. Sometimes you can see it through songs, like like what my grandma would sing, sometimes through food, sometimes would celebrate Nowruz, but you'd mostly perceive it and you'd realize it with like the racism you see there against Kurds. I feel like one thing that unifies Syrians is they hate Kurds. So I remember...
Yes, why?
The majority of Kurds never had citizenship. It's a very complicated story, but basically when they were starting to kind of make, document people and stuff in the 60s, and Kurds worked the fields, and so whoever wasn't at home didn't get any sort of documentation, and that lasted until 2012 or 13, when after the revolution started, that was like one of the compromises that Assad did, and even then, like it wasn't really happening. So that was a majority of Kurds from the northeast. Not the Kurds of Damascus, for example, and not all. So like my mother's family was kind of like upper middle class, so they were fine, right? But what I'm getting at is, so there was a huge community of very unhappy Kurds, right, who lived in Syria but were not Syrian citizens. They were not treated equally. They were discriminated against. They couldn't get the type of jobs that people with citizenship had, obviously, and they are from the most fertile area of Syria. And so because of that, obviously also like there's a lot of poverty, and as often with poverty, some social issues kind of arise, right? So the stereotype kind of like the ingrate is like the Kurd, right? So like the Kurds who like they want to be independent, they don't want to be part of Syria, and also like then there's like the fake stereotypes. They're the criminals. They're kind of like how some people here think of like the Latinos, etc. Right? But so one thing I used to notice is like I would get in a taxi, and so frequently for any reason suddenly they would start talking like crap about Kurds, and so I would wait till they're and I would just wait till like the very end, and then I would say, by the way, I'm Kurdish, and they're like, oh no, of course, like not you, not your family, like no, then who, I also like you could see it a lot in like kind of dynamics in the family, so like gender roles, for example. And so I was surrounded by like very strong personalities, by very strong women who are like very independent, and like growing up, I could tell like how much freedom they had, and the way they lived their lives would not be acceptable for like other communities, like someone staying out so late. So basically, that was, it was present in my life, right? But it wasn't very, very explicit. Yeah.
When you left
Yeah.
Syria, you left for just reasons to study, but during these 13 years, you never went back.
No, I went back once my first year.
What were the reasons that kept you from coming back to Syria?
I'd never done military service. And also the fact that once you're abroad, people know that you're part of the opposition. I basically didn't trust them. For any reason, someone could write, again, like a report, and then when you get to the border, they just, like I had a friend, he managed to survive actually and not go to jail. He had left Syria in 2012. He went back in 2021 or something. And someone in 2014 had written a report that he was supporting these groups that he had no connection with from these cities that he had never been to.
Probably the reason he just wants to...
If someone just for any reason wanted you to get in trouble, it was very easy to report you, right? So I just had no trust of them. There's no laws that truly apply there. And also, honestly, a part of it was I was so disgusted by the Assad regime that I just didn't feel like I could handle going back to that. They forcefully took away kind of the country from us, right? It was being controlled by people who didn't want people like us to survive or to thrive or to have a normal life, right? Because we didn't fit within the mold they were shaping.
كنت عم تقلي شيء مرة عن fear of forgetting Syria, visualizing also
the city, yeah. Often what would happen is, as time passes by, I would suddenly feel this urge that I want to be in Damascus, and I would start kind of visualizing myself walking around the city, and sometimes suddenly I would arrive to an area and realize, oh, I don't remember the name of that street, or oh, I don't remember where to go from here, and I would panic because I feel like I'm starting to lose these memories of how the city even looks like. I'd go to the maps on the internet and try to find the name of the street.
So there was fear of forgetting Syria, forgetting the streets of Syria,
forgetting the physical aspects of the city and of the country felt terrifying because that was not a country I could go back to, right? I had to hold on even more. For me, it felt very important to keep as much of it as possible, right? So any sign of something slipping from me felt like I was losing a part of Syria that I didn't have to lose, right? Because, I had to lose the actual house, right? I had to lose the actual country that I couldn't go back to. But what I had control over was all the memories, was all the images, the words, the names, the concepts, right? Yeah.
So you wanted to keep Syria inside of you.
Yeah, in a way that I could manage, right? I could control. Yeah.
That's home within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it never goes away. So now I feel like Damascus is resurrecting now to me. The city is coming back to life. These streets are there again, it's like they didn't actually disappear, right? That was just my mind trying to calm me down, right? It's all now back there. It's all back to life.
Wow.
Yeah.
حسيت كأنه as if you took in Syria and then you kept it safe in your heart and then it came back to life.
Yeah. Now my family is visiting, and every time they send images or videos, and it's very reassuring because it feels like it doesn't feel foreign or anything, even though it's been 12 years, it feels like it actually did survive in me. Now I could go back to it in a way, hopefully. Wow. Yeah. So
it feels already integrated. You don't have to reintegrate. Exactly. It's like it's inside of you. It's always been inside of you.
Right. Yeah. خلصوا القصايد هن ويصفوا
I've gone to a concert of Aswat. I saw you sing and I heard you sing, and it brought so much tears to my eyes and heart.
I'm sorry.
So this is to say that you have a beautiful voice and you have a journey in music.
Mm-hmm.
How is home related to music for you, and how do you find home in music?
Yeah, that's probably the strongest connection I have. Music was what kept me going, starting when I was really, really young. So basically, when I was 4, I started learning piano. And that was always like a happy place, because unlike the teachers we had at school, who were, I would literally see as monsters. I would even like dream about them as being monsters. The music teachers were like, these like kind people, or like smiling and encouraging. So on the one hand, kind of learning piano, going to these classes would help me completely disconnect from the terrifying type of education I was receiving during the day, right? The last piano teacher who I had for a few years was amazing, and going to her house felt like going to a different world, because it's like so pretty, full of food. She was very like artsy. Her family was connected to the Rahbani brothers, so like she had the buzuq of Nasser Rahbani like on the shelf of her house.
Oh wow.
When I was like 6 or 7, my grandma, who was blind, thought I had a nice voice. She liked my voice. She would sit me next to her every week and teach me these super old songs. I would be suffering through it, right? But now this is like the biggest treasure I have, because now I love this music. It's built in me this appreciation for like classical Arabic music that wouldn't have been there otherwise, on the one hand. On the other, singing was always something that helped me keep going in moments that were very dark. So it was always, until today, it's like when I'm stressed or when something feels off, singing brings me back that balance. And it's actually a big reason, like, I love being part of that choir of Aswat, because it's something literally feels like there is an imbalance in your brain when you go in, and then when you go out, it's like
wow.
Went back to something, like
Yeah.
something. Yeah, it's really weird, but it's beautiful feeling. Yeah.
Well, I had the honor to give a workshop in Aswat, and when I was with all of these beautiful Arab singers and musicians, I really felt like I'm not in the States. I felt like you're talking about this balance. I just felt like I'm back to my cultural being of who I am culturally, and it just took me back home, and it felt so good. And I was like, oh, like, niyelkon.
Yalla, join.
Yeah. What is a song that is, هيك, it takes you to Syria?
For some reason, it's Yalla Tnam Rima.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Tell me why. This is a lullaby.
A lullaby, yeah, exactly. There was something always calming about that song, just kind of telling you everything will be okay. But at the same time, it has so much of the grief of the mother who's been kidnapped, right? Like the lyrics, the way that story is told, and the music and the memories associated with it, and like trying to go to sleep and being told that you'll be fine, is very like rooted in like happy memories of being in Syria, like of those moments of peace, and the song itself, I don't know, just makes me feel so calm.
Happy memories of being in Syria when you were a child and didn't know that all of this was...
Yeah. What things actually looked like.
So are you gonna sing it now?
That's a different question. Yeah, of course, I'm happy to. Let me have.
Yay! في عود بس إذا بدك تقعد تدوزنه بدك نص ساعة.
I don't know how to play. Did you have like a nickname growing up?
لولو.
Lulu? يلا تنام لولو يلا يجيها النوم يلا تحب الصلاة يلا تحب الصوم يلا تجيها العوافي كل يوم بيوم يلا تنام لا تذبح لا طير الحمام روح يا حمام لا تصدق اضحك على لولو تتنام لولو الحندق شعره أسود ومنقى واللي حبك بيبوسك اللي بغضك شو بيترقى يا بياع العناب
الله.
والعنبي قولوا لأمي قولوا لبي سرقوني الغجار من تحت خيمة مجدلي والتيشتشي والتيشتشي والخوخ تحت المشمشي وكل ما هب الهوا نقطف لولو مشمشي هي وهي وهي لينا دستك لكنك عيرينا تنغسلت يا بلولو ننشرهن على ياسمينا.
واو كتير حلو صوتك. Oh my god.
Thank you.
عن جد. بسم الله خزعين ما في. ما في حدا عربي ما ربى عليها. Lulu felt like my inner child is really like happy. Thank you from me and from Lulu.
عراسي.
If you have an object or two objects that represent Syria or your relationship to Syria.
Yeah, I brought two. It's called أنا وجدتي وإليكو وإلاريون. It's a really random thing, but basically because of Syria's connections with the USSR, we had a lot of art and literature from the former USSR. So this novel is like from Georgia. Someone translated it into Arabic, and for some reason it became very popular among a group of a chunk of teenagers in Syria. It's about this kind of boy who grows up in like this rural village. His grandma's like always cursing him, and and then he goes to the big city, and
How is he similar to you?
He always finds an escape out of school. He also like didn't like school. I hated our schools, like I talked about earlier. But so he always found like moments to be happy in his life with people he loved. He had this curiosity about him, about the world surrounding him that I think I could identify with. And then there was like making light basically of things that I found, I think, helpful, right? Because I'm the type of person that always like obsesses over things or over worries, so this would be kind of like people live their lives however, things things go on, life goes on. And also like I don't know if you can, like, I want you to touch it actually, but like the materials.
Oh wow, yeah.
Very interesting.
It does take me like to a time when we were kids for sure.
Yeah.
كان هيك الكتب قماش.
Yeah, right. The other thing I brought is, so my grandma on my mother's side used to paint a lot. And so she painted old Damascus. And so she gave me this right before I left Syria. And actually, I don't know if I've read this in a while, but so yeah, it says on the back, الغالي ناصر مع كل الحب والتقدير أهديك ما خطته ألواني الدمشقية على صفحة العمر. Which is very sweet. And yeah, it's like the only thing I still have, I think, from her. I have lots of beautiful memories from her. I used to love her. She used to love me. Just looking at it, takes me back to being at her house. She loved violets, so like she'd always kind of keep violets in a small box. So like whenever she missed spring, she'd just like take a whiff.
Oh wow.
Then yeah.
Can I see it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I was just like holding on to it. It's very meaningful to me, obviously.
Yeah.
She drew this in 2010.
So beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Did you find home anywhere? Did you manage to create home for yourself?
Yeah, I think here I do feel like I have a home now in San Francisco, in the Bay Area, because I have the community that I love. I have a house actually that I love. I have a partner that I love. I have animals that I love. I have a life that I love. And so coming from where we come from, you're aware from very early on that life will never be perfect and that there's no perfect place. So I never thought of any place as being a utopia. For me, a utopia is a place where you can be loved and love people, And so in my current life and the life I've built too, I am surrounded by everything that for me means home. So I'm surrounded by beauty on different forms. I'm surrounded by beautiful people. I'm surrounded by uncomfortable things. I'm surrounded by chaos, which all for me kind of are rooted in the idea of home. I am surrounded by some sadness. I feel like I have a full life, basically, right? Which is why I feel pretty settled.
You're not giving yourself credit. You're just saying, I'm surrounded by this and that. But the fact is that we all came with 2 bags, and right?
Right.
You probably did a lot and put a lot of intention and you pursued it. You do bring home to yourself.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like it is a lot of effort. And yeah, that's the thing, right? It's like, I think we always think of home as the place we're born into and the place that like naturally is our home. But no, you can build your own home, right?
So the meaning of home expanded for you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like family too, right? And kind of like friendship, right? So all these relationships, you decide how much to nurture them, right? If a friendship isn't working out, it's okay if it ends, right? If a home is no longer available to you or is no longer giving you what you want, it's okay to find a different home, right? So yeah, I think being forced to come to terms to that, I can't live my life with this kind of desire to go back. I need to build my own home.
You need to be present with building your own home,
yeah,
while keeping like Syria in your heart.
Exactly, right? I was fortunate because I found the tools to build, and I found a place where I could build this home. And there comes a moment where you know that you can always find a better place. You know that you can, but that never ends. And it's never the right word to think of, right? Like, is there somewhere better for me? Because some things will be better, others won't be, right? You're always sacrificing something at the cost of something else. So it's about coming to terms to what you are willing to tolerate in order to be able to thrive. And I think here in the Bay Area, like, I've come to terms to, all the issues we have. Also, like, one thing you learn is nothing is eternal. So, maybe in 20 years, somewhere else will be home, right?
We all don't know where Syria is going, where is this like new government, and we're not here to talk about it because we don't know. And very soon also, some people say like, oh, it's not a liberation, it's like a deal. And some people say like, you shouldn't be happy, it's like, we don't know where we're going. As if there's one oppression that is more important than another.
Right.
As if fighting for a free Palestine comes on the expense of the Syrian bodies and Syrian prisoners and Syrian oppression. So I just want to open the space for you to share like your thoughts, like how you feel about it.
We know that the regime's raison d'etre was Palestine, was this fake idea that they are gonna defend, they're gonna fight for Palestine, right? When we know for decades and decades that was never the case. They sold the Golan Heights to Israel. And the way, as I mentioned earlier, like the way they treated Palestinians in Syria, they might like have some sort of kind of emotional value for Palestinians, or like the idea that at least there is a country that is not doing tatbiyah, right, normalizing. But let's say they somehow were actually benefiting Palestine. My Palestinian friend told me when these were happening, he said freedom of historic Palestine should never be on the shoulders of Syrians' freedom, right? And that was very powerful for me to hear. So really what matters is, well, first, the fact that thousands of lives were saved from people who were in prison, right? That alone is something to celebrate, right? But also there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of Syrians who need the country physically, like they need to be there. I was fortunate enough to have a life outside of Syria I've established, right? The Syria that comes might not be the Syria I dreamed or I imagined. It might be, hopefully, but it might not, and that's okay. The Syria that comes should be the Syria that people who are living in tents, people who have been living in humiliation. People were forced to leave. I was not forced to leave. There are people who like need their house. I don't need my house there.
So you have the privilege.
Yeah, exactly. I have that privilege, right? Whereas there are people who have been having a terrible life outside of Syria who need to go back, right? So it's what they want. Yeah, I have a dream of what Syria would look like. I have a vision, but that vision never is going to be as important as those who are
As the reality.
as the
Of those who
are living still like in refugee camps, right? It's their reality that matters, right? It's not ours.
Yeah, it sounds like when, you know, people who are not Palestinians start talking about the two-state solution, and it's like, okay,
Or
that's a
anything.
vision for you.
Exactly. It's
But-
like, what do Palestinians want? What do Palestinians who live in Palestine want, right?
From here, we arrive to the last question, which is also relevant. How do you see a free Syria or a free Sham or whatever that is? This vision that
Yeah. I
we may have.
Yeah, I see a Syria where literally everyone is represented and everyone is heard. It's a very peculiar country where there's so much going on, where there's so many factors, so many types of people, so many groups of people, so many religions, that I think it would only be successful as a country when everyone is heard, everyone is represented, everyone is respected, and everyone can do what they want without interfering with what others want or what others believe, where the schools aren't prisons. A Syria where people can have a decent life.
Which is, of course, it's hard to arrive to a utopia.
Yeah, no, utopias don't exist.
Yeah, at least not having...
A dystopia.
Right. Nasser, thank you so much for coming and for sharing your story and your history and what home means to you, all of what you bring.
Thank you so much. That's lovely. Yeah, I'm really happy. Actually, we did this, so
Yeah, me too.
it was really, really warm.
And now, are you ready for the fatteh?
Yes, please. You made fatteh?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet.
بعد ما عملتها، بعد بدي أعمل شوي.
ما يبدأ تطبيق ولا؟ Yeah. Oh, thank you so much.